here again for another Chupacabra Games Monday Modern stream. James Freedom joined by
Zachary went.
and we'll be doing some commentary today. Looks like we have Team Rhinos versus Mr. A on Prowess. So you get the companion. Double red cards in this build.
This is going to be an interesting matchup. I haven't seen the Prowess.
Well,
never
that's
mind.
not
That's
Prowess.
This is Greentron versus Rhino.
With Gigantha, so no walking ballista.
No. No dismember.
Yeah. For context, Aquino in the past has had a little trouble registering deck lists with Gigantha, but hopefully today we're all good.
We will try to point that out if we see anything.
Yeah, if we see any dismembers or anything, obviously those can be in the sideboard, but for main deck we're gonna have to obey by Gigantha's law. But second Tron lane for Mr. A on turn 2 into a Sylvan
the
Scribe.
third.
Yeah. So turn 3, we're looking at Tron. With Drak on the draw, not looking too hot.
Also looks like Mr. A only went probably mulligan once or twice there, so
He's still got a few cards in
there's still some gas in that hand.
Yeah, I think if Drak had a force negation too, you probably do it on the Sylvan Scrying.
Yes, denying the land is probably the best way of countering that. I don't think it's probably a great idea to force. If anything, I don't know if he's running subtleties in the main, but you could see that if that is the only answer that he has.
Yeah, subtlety definitely good at taking out the planeswalkers for a turn or two, although not being able to apply much pressure without the Rhinos is going to be a little difficult, I think.
Not a permanent solution.
The prediction setup for y'all now.
Right, a Worm Coil Engine from Mr. A. Really can't see anything.
All right, the prediction is up.
Can't really force a negation a Worm Coil Engine.
Nope.
So
it's gonna be a pretty good blocker too for basically any threat that Drak is gonna be playing here. Third land for Drak. It's gonna be Fiery Islet, so we could see something like Violent Outburst here. To get in front of the Worm Coil, but even then, probably Drak's best play is not good enough to get rid of the worm.
That's another tower.
Yeah, this could
we
be
could see an Ugin.
Yeah.
Ugin.
There's the Ulamog. So yeah, this should wrap things up for game number 1. Not a matchup where I don't think Drak is favored to begin with, as we do see a force negation,
especially not on the play. Obviously, Blood Moon is in play, but I don't know if that's going to be enough in game 1 on the draw.
Right. Yeah. Blood Moon is sometimes found in the main deck of the Rhinos deck, but it's not always there.
Definitely mostly a sideboard card.
Yeah, I don't think Drak is on any main board. I think he's just on Subtlety Endurance still. But yeah, this Worm Coil Engine is going to be pretty tough to beat. Just the 6 life, basically, gaining every turn. It can freely attack, and then now Drak with only 1 land that deals him damage.
And there's still an Ulamog in play.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the 10/10 also poses a bit of a threat.
Yep, and going to game 2 here.
Yeah, not surprised to see Tron take that on the play with basically any mediocre draw will get you there game 1.
Or any interaction. There was no. Yeah. He trampled unimpeded through that.
Oh yeah.
So
that was a little rough one, but game number 2, I mean, Drak, like you were saying, gets access to things like Blood Moon.
And is on the play.
And
so
big part on the play. I mean, he does have the 1 Gemstone Caverns in his deck, so that will give him some leeway if we do see a game of 3. I could still have a turn 2 Blood Moon, but obviously Mr. Ray is going to have up a Seiju or maybe even Force of Vigor to take care of that. But I think we see some subtleties coming in from Jurak's sideboard. I can get a little peek at that. And Mr. Ray doesn't appear to be sideboarding at all. Not an atypical thing from Tron. I think you've played more Tron than I have, Zach.
Most of the time, it's just, is this a graveyard deck? If no, then no relic comes in.
Sure,
Especially with some of the, well, I play more E-Tron, so no Beseijus in the sideboard, nor any Force of Vigors potentially. But there's definitely potential of something like that coming in from Green Tron. But I know there are a couple Beseijus made anyways, so
yeah, that would make sense.
Probably is pretty confident that he can just get by with that. And I mean, Greentron can still, I mean, it's that it can't really play through it, but it can definitely find ways around a Blood Moon.
Oh yeah, I mean, given enough time too, they can just play any lands and eventually cast their spells that are colorless.
That is given time, though.
Yeah.
I'm more saying like you can probably still see a Sylvan Scrying cast to go get a Basilju,
sure.
and they do have the chromatic star and sphere to get any colored mana that they may need.
It's true.
So it is still pretty resilient against a Blood Moon. You just cannot. You have to suffocate them with a Blood Moon on turn 3 to get anywhere.
Yeah, I think the earlier it comes down, the more damage it's going to do typically, or the more cards it forces your Tron opponent to have just in their opening 7 to deal with the moon. But it looks like Kino's going to do the Tron Classic and take a mulligan.
We may see a few of these.
Especially post sideboard. I feel like you are a little more incentivized to, if not make Tron, at least have a way to deal with the Blood Moon or the Rhinos, because
looks like quite a few lands in Jurak's hand there. I did see a Violent Outburst there.
Yeah, he's looking for basically just early interaction like Force of Negation, and then a way to make power on 3, which is one of the Cascaders typically. I think something that he's taken out is probably like Dead Gone. You know, you're not going to be
Dead Gone's a pretty dead card.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yep, it is dead and gone out of the 75.
Correct.
The 60.
Out of the 60. That one's pretty bad. I think I did see a Brazen Borrower in that opening hand. Petty Theft is, I would say, a pretty good, maybe even balancing a map.
Sure.
Slowing down, getting Tron is probably even good enough.
Yeah, especially on the play.
In the matchup.
If their turn 1 play is just turn 1 map and you get to end step unsummon that, it's pretty powerful. Basically a time walk.
Especially because I can't see Fire and Ice being too relevant in the matchup. Like it can be, but I would say trimming it would be pretty easy. So having something to do on that turn 2, especially with a map on 1, is pretty viable.
I think the best part about Fire Ice is that it's a blue card to pitch to Force of Negation.
Or Subtlety.
Or Subtlety as well, yeah.
Yeah. It's also a red to pitch to Fury if maybe a down tick on a Karn liberated.
Yeah, I think Fury's pretty reasonable. It definitely takes.
It's definitely not a non-factor in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a Blood Moon in play too, it's not unreasonable that you could cast it for its casting cost and not the evoke cost, and then you're still able to play it through Blood Moon, and then it's also kind of hard for Tron to deal with a 5-cost 3/3. There's just not too many ways for, if they're resolving a card, they're probably winning the game anyway. So,
or potentially even an Ugin.
Yeah.
Ugin is just, I'm going to tick down on 0 and get rid of your Rhinos, or I'm just going to bolt your Fury.
Yeah, you just get to bolt it.
It's a very good card in the matchup. I'm not sure how many Mr. A is playing, but typically I think it's around 2, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds correct. So we're going to see Fire Ice on Kino's turn 2. So cut him off access, 2 mana on turn 2. I don't love that play. I think you're maybe Jurak's trying to draw another card here.
maybe trying to search for that blood moon as we didn't see it here.
Yeah, we did not see it on turn 3, so good news for Mr. A, as he's not looking down a moon from the other side of the board. And here's natural Tron on 3. See if he has a threat just picking up Gigantha, looks like.
I could mean that there is a Ugin in hand or another
Yeah.
Eldrazi Titan and
Something,
not a
something
Karn.
larger, yeah.
But no chromatic sphere or anything like that to use some mana on either. Just not spending that 4 mana from the minor plant.
Yep. So we did see a Blood Moon in Jiraach's deck, so we definitely brought him in.
They fetch and shock. We'll probably be seeing a Violent Outburst here.
I think so. And I wonder if we'll have the counterspell from Tron. The
Warping Whale.
Warping Whale, yep. Thinking of Spatial Contortion, but that's the wrong one.
That's the different one. Warping Whale is certainly a card. Not sure if Greentron plays it. I've never.
I'm pretty sure they have adopted it more recently, just
but-
because it kills Ragavan and then also counters the Cascade spells.
Yeah, it does a very good job against Living End, even
Yeah.
though not sure it's very much needed in the Living End matchup.
Probably not since you're a 4 relic deck or a large amount of relics.
I'm pretty sure it's typically around 3.
And then you've got either Crypt or another one in the sideboard to get off of Karn. But it looks like the Rhinos are going to stick around. Jiraach will untap. He just picked up a Subtlety. This could be good against Ugin.
I did see, I believe, a Shardless Agent, so there it is pitchable, and if he has another land, it is hard castable as well.
That's the ideal scenario, I think, because it makes your clock a little bit faster, although it's not
No
coming on
other
this turn because there wasn't a
land.
land drop. So both players on 3 lands. Yeah. Kino on 4 now. We see 7 mana, so we did pick up a Karn for the turn, is what I would imagine was the draw.
We definitely would have seen that last turn. We're seeing a Subtlety here.
Pitching Brazen Barb, so we're going to hold on to Shardless. I like casting Shardless if you have another blue card to pitch there, just so you have
I
lethal
do as
damage.
well.
Bit of a blunder.
Especially if we potentially see another Violent Outburst here as well.
Well, yeah, if we have another Violent Outburst here, I mean, it's basically the same outcome, right? We just get 2 Rhinos and then are able to attack through them.
Mm-hmm. And, well, that's just 12 damage as well, if there's another Violent Outburst. Which,
Or
Mr.
16.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does the job.
Well, here's 3 mana.
And
There's
another
the Violent
Violent Outburst.
That should be, yep.
And
Kino's
that's
going to
the
scoop
game.
them up. Going to game 3 here, but Tron on the play again. I think an ideal scenario for Mr. A, but not an unwinnable one for Jiraach. Can certainly still get a Blood Moon out with plenty of time.
Now I think
but
the Fire Ice on turn 2 is certainly a viable strategy,
it does get better, yeah. I think it cuts him off from more lines.
especially if the tower is already in play, getting him down to 4 mana, which still a lot can be done with 4 mana, but in Greentron, not as much as 7.
This is true.
Definitely siding back in the Gemstone Caverns for Jiraach.
Yeah, that's pretty vital. I don't want to say he should mulligan to it, but I mean he's pretty incentivized to keep hands with
Definitely
it. So
seeing it is
Yeah.
certainly good in this game.
yeah, and in conjunction with the Blood Moon as well, having access to that on as soon as turn 2 with the gemstone is going to be pretty powerful. See if Jiraach gets to fetch for any basics as well. I don't think we saw any in play last game, but he just was not on the Blood Moon plan, which makes sense.
No, he did not see one, but still ended up getting there even without the Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, Aquino stumbled for basically just one turn, and that's one turn too many for
that's,
a deck like
that's
Rhino.
all Jurak needed to get through.
Yep.
There's a Blood Moon in hand for Jurak.
He honestly may have been able to just let the Karn resolve and still have 12 power.
Yeah, because even if Kino exiles one of the rhinos, he still has the
Still
12 power
12, yeah.
with the 3 rhinos.
The only benefit to that is you conceal the information that you did bring in subtlety. But I think both of these players play each other fairly often and would probably know that subtleties are lurking around. So I think that's a correct play to just pitch it.
Just not waste any time and just
Yeah.
bang.
You are dead.
Yes.
Ultron doing Tron things, like you were saying. He's mulling yet again, but last game we saw
Down to 6, and is this down to 5 or
it should just be 6. I
6 again?
think so, unless we saw an immediate mulligan that I missed, but should be 6. I mean, sometimes Tron draws pretty bricky hands, so I wouldn't be surprised. But
There have been many times I've seen Tron players go down to 4 or even lower than that and
Yep.
still be able to pull out a
I
game
mean,
because
just the 3 cards.
have 1 + 1 + 1 = 7.
Yeah,
There's
they
another
really
one in there
rewrote
somewhere.
the history, you know,
Yeah.
rewriting math. Aquino taking a nice long look at this hand. Generally not a good sign.
Probably just deciding what to bottom here.
Yeah, so we are keeping 6. And starting things off with a mine and a map? Nope, mine and a star. No pregame actions from Jurak, so no gemstone caverns in sight. What about turn 1 play? Just gonna drop down
That
a
is a
mountain and
mountain.
pass. Interesting. I think we have a scalding target hand too. I'm surprised we didn't just see that one. Hello, I say sniper.
We get our
Uh,
Bobby did the thing.
Bobby's playing a bit of a homebrew list today. I think
Interesting. Maybe we'll see it next round.
we just might.
If we are hearing that he did the thing.
Yeah. Like Karn might have been picked up. We do see it on the streams display.
Turn 2 map. Not the greatest feeling.
I mean, it's a map, and tower isn't in play, so Kino will still have access to 3 mana if he chooses to correct the map next turn. And map's gonna resolve too, so I'm assuming no force for Jurak either. Scalding Tarn for Jurak.
Probably going to be fetching for an island.
I would imagine so, if we're on the Blood Moon plan. Just to have access to as much mana as possible. I'd like to see a forest as well, because forest plus mountain at least gets you one of the cascaders, but mountain plus island gets you neither of them. Jurak might be thinking about how to sequence this here, hoping that Aquino doesn't have access to Tron next turn. I mean, we could see a Brazen Borrower here, or a Petty Theft rather, on the map, like you were saying earlier.
I think that's probably the best plan. I don't think Fire and Ice is good enough in this situation.
Not quite. He's just going to crack the map
in
response.
It doesn't really do anything here. It just forces him to do it.
All right, well, here's the island. And we're just going to let Aquino untap.
It's like he's going to try and fire.
Do a Fire Ice, okay. Yeah, I mean, if it's all you got, it's all you got, because you still get the card draw, but it's just not going to stop the expedition map from being correct. So
does limit mana if for say he had a tower in hand.
Sure, yeah. Yeah. That's not the worst play.
the only other option, I would say, or like good reason to do that. If it's all you got, it's all you got.
Yeah. He still could be holding up something like a Force of Negation, and then into a turn 3 Blood Moon with a couple basics in play. Still could be a bit of a roadblock for Kino to get over here.
There's also a big red flag for playing Blood Moon. There's no green source in play for Jirok.
Not just yet. Hopefully, Misty Rainforest or some kind of green source, basic green source for Jirok on the following turn. Or we're just gonna map off of the tower. This will probably get us a forest.
Yes, it will.
So that leads me to believe there is a Beseiju in hand for Aquino. Or he's just preemptively getting ready as he knows he's gonna need a green source, even if he does have Beseiju.
I'd say it's just a precautionary measure here in case of a blood moon, which is probably not the worst idea. It's probably good to get Jirok thinking about a Beseiju.
We saw Jirok draw the Gemstone Caverns, but here's Wooded Foothills.
That does get a forest.
And then if we see the moon, I think Jirok has a pretty decent chance if Aquino actually doesn't have something like Beseiju to actually get rid of the moon. We could make him stumble for a turn or two, and here it is. Pass it back to Aquino. See what kind of response he has. Here's the forest we know about.
Forest and 2 mana for a Beseiju.
Yep, here it is. So we still have
5 mana available.
Yep. Yeah. That'll get us a Karn, the Great Creator, or we could buy Giganta like we saw last game. But hopefully Aquino has something better to do than just purchase the companion. See Ketria Triumph come into play. Here's the Great Creator with a colorless floating.
Wouldn't be surprised if potentially Jirok has a Fury in hand. Could just hard cast a Fury.
Yeah,
next turn.
We know about the land, yeah.
With the extra land drop that Beseiju gave him to kill the Karn, and also just have a 3/3 with double strike in play.
It's a pretty reasonable play. I think if we're gonna see Chalice here off the Karn.
And casted for 0.
Yeah, now that turns off Jirok's other ways to victory. Like you were saying with the Fury, I think that would be pretty good at clearing up the board, and you really only lose to Ugin at that point. That's the only actual concern, I think.
I guess also a Titan as well. That
Sundering Titan?
So, no, Ulamog.
Oh, Ulamog, sure.
Eldrazi Titan.
Just say Ulamog. That's the only one they play.
I thought they're still playing. I thought they were potentially on the Emrakul.
I guess you can't rule it out, but
Promised End.
Yeah.
I know I was playing that one in Etron for some of those pesky control matchups, and
sure,
it is pretty decent against 4 colors. So
yeah, if the games are going late. Yeah, I think Mono Green Tron does have the benefit of just being better against the 4-color deck. Just less reliant on creatures and more so causing problems with planeswalkers, which 4 colors struggles with a little bit. But no Fury for Jirok here. It's just going to be a suspended Crashing Footfalls. So I think as this game goes on further, we're just going to see Mr. A pull further and further away from losing this game. As here's the Sundering Titan, actually.
See, it just
yeah,
didn't know I called it,
but you did. It's gonna blow up a lot of lands here, actually.
It's blowing up. But 10, 3.
Yeah, we're gonna get the Triome Island Forest, probably.
Most likely, yes.
Just leave him with a Mountain Scalding Tarn. I mean, honestly, this card does just end the game. If Jirok does not have a subtlety. This is a creature.
And quickly pointed out there.
Yeah, subtlety is really the only thing you could have here, and then he just draws it next turn.
Yep, and that is...
Yep, so we're just going to leave him with a Mountain and a Scalding Tarn. And now there's a 7/10 Golem in play.
Ancient. Oh, and a relic.
Relic of Progenitus. It's basically just gonna loot here. Not gonna be too impactful, but I don't think we saw Akito sideboard at all. So keeping that in makes some sense.
I mean, it is kind of a interesting play if Durak does find something for the Sundering Titan, or some way to kill it. He could just exile his own graveyard and then get it back with Karn.
Sure. Yeah.
So I get. Also, you could also just if the chalice goes away, you could do the same. You have the same.
Right.
plan.
It just
So
exile your own chalice minus Karn again.
It does kind of make sense to keep into the deck to kind of recycle those kind of hate pieces for Drox, Rhinos.
Yeah, I forget sometimes Tron just gets to have like a tool piece like Relic and be one of the only decks that like actually uses it to their benefit and not just hating another deck.
It does very good at hate and also helping. There's also even more exile in the is that the can't remember the desert there. The
Scavenger
scavenger
grounds?
grounds.
Yeah.
There we are.
Here's Father Karn.
Would not be surprised here if that just targets a land.
At this point, I mean, it's doing a lot of damage. Druk does have a few cards in hand, so there's probably some cards you don't want to be exiled just yet.
Does look like it's just exiling land here.
Taking out the stomping ground. Gonna crack in for 7 here. Yeah, I'm not too sure there's anything that Druk can draw at this point to get out of this one. Coming for 7, Druk's gonna fetch down to 9. I mean, even making Rhinos at this point is just not going to be enough to deal with Sundering Titan. And then even if you do, you still lose more lands because Sundering Titan is a leave the battlefield trigger as well as an ETB. One of the more relevant things against the 4-color decks is you can't just bounce it with a Teferi. They're just going to do it again.
There is.
And you lose even more lands.
There's no real good way of getting rid of it other than just getting it into the graveyard and hoping that they can't go get it again.
Right, yeah. You have to either deal with the Karn or counter the Golem itself.
So seeing a bit of a loot here for, not a loot, but a just cycle that Relic of Progenitus.
Yeah, we see the power of Boseiju in this matchup nowadays. Tron having a very good tool to deal with a Blood Moon, and it doesn't even get caught by something like Force Subjugation. So Tron, as more cards are printed to hurt Tron, you know, Tron also gets pieces to help it. So.
Added to them, even if most of the cards are just kind of stale and sitting in there for quite a long time, there are the kind of random ones that you wouldn't really expect being played in a deck, big mana deck like this, like Boseiju, but it does make quite a lot of sense, especially in the green variant. But you know, Etron being sort of my pet deck, not seeing the being able to cast the really easy hate for a Blood Moon or for a Void Mirror or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's more of the reason why that deck isn't good anymore. Unfortunately, not having the ability to take care of the hate as easy as Greentron, which is probably why it's still quite relevant in today's meta, as it is still very, very well off in the meta.
Oh yeah. Greentron's in a weird spot where it's great against the best deck in the format, but it still struggles with matchups that it's always struggled with in the past, you know, like blue-red tempo decks like Murktide. We see that everywhere. But it can pick up some good favorable matchups, like winning a die roll against Hammer Time and having a Null Rod on Karn the Great Creator is pretty powerful.
Turning off lands has been Karn's specialty in the past.
Yep.
And so turning off especially some of their lands or quite a bit more in the case of Hammer Time. But also we do see Greentron sometimes struggle against like Burn and some of those like more aggro-y decks. Is it like they can just get under
Right.
some of the larger cards because it is still a turn three. At turn three, it starts to do its thing.
Right. Turn three
Whereas
at its best.
at Burn, it is mostly trying to end the game around that. So you do see it falter in some of those quicker matchups as well.
Zeta NN, thanks for the sub with Prime. Appreciate you. Well, looks like Mr. A is going to take this in 3. For Teamer Rhinos, we still have about 20 minutes left on the clock, so we're going to go take a look around and see if we can find another match for y'all. But if not, we'll see you back for round number 2. All right, so it looks like all the matches are still already in progress. We're just going to be taking a little bit of break till the next round, but we'll see you guys back for round number 2. All right, we're back here for round number two. We've got Eric and Reed. Eric is sporting the blue-white control list he was playing with that we saw last week, with the Days Undoing and Narset combo to help finish off four color decks. And Reed is going to be on blue-red Murktide, pretty standard list, I believe, with Ledger Shredders, and I think one or two DRCs hanging out there as well. We'll just have to wait and see. But looks like Eric won the die roll here. Pretty important in the matchup, especially for game one. It's just going to give Eric more windows to cast Counterspell, and Reed is basically on playing lands duty. He's just going to have to make sure he's going to have enough mana to cast multiple spells in order to attempt to resolve a spell of his own. And mostly just going to have like a reactionary stance in the game. He's just going to have to, since he's going to have less mana in general, he's going to have to play his spells that are going to counter Eric's spells in order to make a mana advantage there. But a little easier said than done. I think his primary method of winning this game is just going to be playing just smaller threatening creatures, followed up by counter magic, as we see here with a Ledger Shredder. That looks like it's going to resolve. And it's going to pass back to Eric. Now, if Eric has something in like Prismatic Ending, and also being able to hold up a counter spell, would be pretty ideal to deal with the Shredder. Although Reed is holding up Spell Pierce mana, so that could prove a little troublesome, as we do see Eric just pass right on back here, still holding up mana. As there are a few baubles in the graveyard, so playing a Murktide is not out of the question, but into something like Supreme Verdict, don't know if that's where you want to be. Can't get a great look at either player's hand, but looks like Force of Negation in Eric's hand for sure, and I imagine there's a card to back that up somewhere. Yeah, Shotgun, Steam Vents down to 13 for Reed, coming across for 1 with Ledger Shredder. Here is a Breeding Pool for Eric. That's going to be a way for him to get his endings a little bit higher on, and I believe he has Veil of Summer in the sideboard, although the Shock Lens might just be to make his endings hit more targets. So end step, we're going to see 3 mana and a March of Otherworldly Light with Counterspell backup. That's going to take care of the Shredder. March being a pretty good inclusion for blue-white decks, since it is an instant speed exile spell, unlike Prismatic Ending, being a sorcery. And backup Ledger Shredder for Reed. We'll see if he has another spell to trigger Connive, get some value out of this early. Reed fetching with Scalding Tarn here leads me to believe there's not going to be an iteration coming, as we are missing out on value of playing the lands, but rather holding up more mana for counter spells to keep this Ledger Shredder alive. And here's that iteration back on Reed's turn. Eric still has Force Negation. We're just going to hard cast it for 3 mana, still having and up for another counter spell. But Ledger Shredder is in play already, so the connive trigger will come up if there's another spell cast, but no rebuttal from Reed, which means the Shredder is going to stay in play, and iteration will no longer resolve. Another lane drop for Eric is going to be Adawara and just a bolt on his end step, trying to get both players down to 12. I almost want to save that bolt for Reed's turn just to trigger Connive. But this might be to grow a Murktide. Getting another instant in the yard. Reed's going to try to resolve another iteration. It is going to resolve. Here's where I would have liked to seen the bolt. Although I think we did see a Ragavan, so we're probably casting that one this turn, which is also going to trigger Connive. So I would assume Ragavan's going to go to hand, and then we're going to be exiling the Scalding Tarn here so we can play it, which we are. Maybe dashing the Ragavan to play around Prismatic Ending, but as we see two counterspells, three counterspells even in Reed's hand. So he is incentivized to leave up as much counter magic as possible, I would believe. And so Reed's just gonna hold up 4 mana here, keep the 1/3 in play. Players are close to half their life total, so it's not unreasonable that this one Shredder could go a pretty long distance. Here's that Ragavan we saw Reed pick up last turn. We're going to be dashing it. Notably, Reed tapping 2 red mana for this. I think that could come up if we see the Ragavan not connect, as we see Solitude come down here. And Reed uses one of his counter spells. We're going to hit a Connive trigger off the Shredder. Narset's going to come off of the Ragavan, so that's a pretty big deal for Reed. Though Eric's deck outside of Teferis are probably not going to be drawing that many cards. We might see something like Jace. But the biggest deal breaker is that Days Undoing can't really be cast for as long as Narset is on the battlefield. But Eric getting a little tricky here with a subtlety that's going to put the spell back on top of its control, or I believe it says owner's library. So that will put the Narset on top of Eric's library, even though it was going to be cast by Reed. I'm going to go talk to the players about how this will resolve. All right, I'm back, and players are all good with the ruling we had. Just a little dispute on whether or not um which player gets to decide where the Narset goes, or the spell targeted by subtlety rather. And it does say the owners, so the owner does get to choose if it goes on the top or the bottom, not the spell's caster necessarily. But looks like from what we've missed, there has been a Narset cast by Eric while Reed is tapped out, and we're now resolving Days Undoing, where Reed will get to draw one card and Eric will get to draw seven. And in this board state, I think that definitely favors the control player, although this does give Reed one turn where Eric is tapped out. Now, this Narset Days Undoing deck is playing a bunch of free spells, so to speak, like Solitude, Subtlety, and also Force of Negation. So while Eric might be tapped out, he still is representing quite a few cards that he could have here. So see what Reed can make of this situation and see if he can get 8 damage across. But here is one of the free spells we were talking about, which is Solitude. All right, it looks like Reed has had enough after this chalice comes down. Narset Days is doing proving yet again it's pretty strong at beating these popular strategies in modern nowadays, as Murktide's the most popular deck, most represented in basically every metagame. It's always going to be there. It's uh pretty strong deck. I mean, it's just it can beat everything and it can lose to almost anything. So quite the 50-50 deck going on there, but pretty strong choice nonetheless. I think it has a very high ceiling. So the better you are at the deck, the better it will perform, and the more your decisions matter as well, which I think is something you don't get out of the 80 card decks as much. Is you pretty much have a set path the whole game of what your game plan is going to be, and your decisions do impact the game, just not as heavily as the 60 card decks, just as they offer more consistency, and the likelihood of seeing cards is a lot higher, obviously, with 20 less cards, and things like fetching um, won't give you as much of an increase on the likelihood to see a lands. Uh, the four color deck obviously being still pretty powerful outside of those things, but something that the 60 card decks definitely get to benefit from. Like we see the blue white deck here gets to be a sort of a combo deck while also still being a um, pretty tough control deck that's going to be um, basically having all of the answers. Really, you're going to have things like the pitch elementals to take care of most people's combo pieces or strong cards in the matchups, like subtlety answers. Basically, every card that you could be worried about. There's a few exceptions, like something like Shark Typhoon gets under subtlety, but all of the pitch elementals are going to get got. Omnath, Teferis, Karns, even out of Tron. There's a lot of implication for the blue elemental. Uh, and Solitude obviously taking care of all of the creatures after they've resolved, uh, being a form of Swords to Plowshares. And I don't believe Eric's on anything like Ephemerate, so we're not going to be seeing anything like that. We'd rather have like Supreme Verdict main deck to take care of multiple creatures at the same time. All right, I'm now joined by current player in the tournament, Kai. If you want to introduce yourself.
Uh, hey, sup?
Very good. A very Akai introduction.
Yeah, there's nothing much more than that, you know. Nothing much more than that.
All right, so what are you playing today?
I'm playing Murktide.
Okay, so just like Reed's playing here, and I think Will is as well. So.
Yeah. I think his list is a little different. I think his might be a little more updated, but I'm not quite sure. I haven't played against him in a bit.
Okay. What's your record so far?
1-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like Murktide.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, I got a pretty unlucky start. I guess I just didn't know what I was playing against. It was too late, but
What'd you end up playing against?
oh, it was the grinding station combo deck.
Oh, who's playing that today?
I think his name is James.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, he dropped
Not me.
he dropped an Emery, and I'm like, I swear to fucking God. And by the time he dropped Station and Underworld Breach, I'd already overextended myself, and
You didn't have counterspell mana.
yeah, no. I was expecting, it might be like a turn or two more, and then he just drops Underworld Breach, and I'm like, you could have dropped that a turn before, but
I just wanted to.
I think he wanted to set up a little.
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
more,
Those decks are kind of tricky because like if you set up wrong, you can just lose the game because you can't cast Thassa's Oracle or they do have to wait the extra turn sometimes.
Well, game 2, I was holding up a dress down, so I could dress down.
Oh, with the Nars, or the,
Yeah, in response to his Oracle, so he just loses.
That's pretty sick.
But he ended up killing with a construct.
Yeah.
And I couldn't hold it up
Turns out
because he would just win.
the backup plan for that deck is just like a cast in Legacy. You just make a big construct off of Versus Saga, and the game's kind of over.
Yeah, you really can't do much better than that, especially when I was on 2 lands. But, that's partially my own fault. But looks like is he shocking? No, he's not. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's just getting a tap Steam Vents here.
Is this on his turn?
I believe Eric played a Triome in past, and this is end step of.
Oh, there's just glare. I thought that was a face down card.
I also thought so because of the white sleeves, but I think it makes a little more sense.
Okay, yeah, this was an end step. Okay, got you. Yeah. We're good.
Dash Ragavan, okay. Wonder if Eric has a Solitude?
Oh, yeah, he literally fucking does, yeah. What do you pitch? Emperor, yeah. Okay.
All right, so Wandering Emperor is probably only 1 or 2 of in this deck.
Yeah.
And it's getting taken care of right now.
I still feel like Eric is ahead right now, though. Like, even though he did sacrifice that, I mean, Reed is kind of behind. Did nothing on turn 1. His turn 2 was invalidated. Like,
yeah. I mean, he gets to get the iteration here. At least he can hold up a Spell Pierce or a Flusterstorm with the 1 blue.
And that ain't bad, you know?
Yeah, it basically means Eric just can't play Narset or Teferi this turn.
Yeah.
And he's incentivized to wait, but...
I mean, he could play... I mean, if it is a Flusterstorm, he could play Teferi and Narset.
Yeah, but then he's prone to whatever Reed has to respond to that in the form of creatures.
Yeah, that's true. Looks like he's just dropping a Consider, though. He did not bin anything.
Yeah, didn't fill up the graveyard. Kind of
something. It might have just been the other Ragavan. Yeah, that's fair.
Eric's gonna fetch. Do we have a March here? I wonder what's warranting the fetch now.
I mean, that'd probably be the only thing. Now if his deck.
Yeah, for 3 mana, it'd be a Shark Typhoon, right?
Oh,
Ganjo.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, that'd be another one.
That's gonna deal 4 damage to this attacking Ragavan and can't be countered because it is an ability. Well,
it's not a spell.
But, not in any conventional ways. You're not going to see a counterspell hitting any abilities.
I don't think Murktide runs Tails End, so
you could.
I mean, you're right. You could.
It's not unreasonable. It counters Teferis. It counters Murktide or Omnath. Excuse me.
It does not counter Murktide.
It does not. No.
Yeah, that'd be fucking busted.
Yeah, people would probably play that card.
Yeah. No, it would be kind of okay.
Blood Moon
already. Yeah, and he's got 2 islands, so.
He has to have a counterspell here, though.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, fetch up an island. That might have been why he fetched a Plains earlier.
This is game 2, right? Yeah.
This is game 2. Yep.
Yeah. So he probably would be anticipating that.
I would hope.
I mean,
his is pretty greedy. He's playing Breeding Pool and Spar's Headquarters instead of basics.
I mean, I feel like this is still probably one of the least greedy decks that Eric plays.
Yeah.
But like. He's got he's gotta cut some basics some.
Well, here's a counter spell.
Yeah. I mean he's Reed's got one up, so if he has the
Ooh,
Yeah.
Mystical Dispute.
Mystical Dispute,
That's at least going to get another card out of Eric and actually resolve the Blood Moon.
yeah, that'll do it. I was gonna say Flusterstorm, but that does it just as well. Actually, maybe even better. I think he could pay for. No, he couldn't. No. Is that a march?
That was a March, yep.
Yeah, he just marched it right away. I guess that's why he wasn't too concerned about.
Yeah,
I'll
this
let-
way he gets the Mystical Dispute out of Reed's hand.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jace the Mind Sculptor while Eric's tapped out. No force negation.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
And we're just going to
I
brainstorm.
mean, how many cards does Eric have in hand? Three.
Four, maybe? 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
I thought I saw him shuffle 3, but
It's going a little fast.
that's still enough for
I
a
think it is
Jace
3, yeah.
to make a pretty significant impact.
Oh yeah, getting just one brainstorm is pretty solid for Jace.
Yeah.
I don't believe
mean,
I don't believe Reed's played a land yet either, so he could have a fetch here, but he does not.
Just dropping a tap steam bounce.
And
I mean,
getting a bauble.
I think even just plussing 2 on Jace a couple times.
Yep.
Might that would be okay.
Yeah, I mean,
He doesn't really need to get super ahead right now, I think.
I think he needs to brainstorm to just develop a little bit stronger of a hand, and then he can start plussing. But I mean, the problem with just upticking there constantly is that Eric will eventually draw into something like Prismatic Ending, or has already one in his hand. So
Does he have 4 colors right now? I think he only has 3.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
If he can make 4, because he has Spara's headquarters. I haven't seen Raubern try him yet.
Yeah, other than that, I guess Blood Moon isn't here anymore, so if he has the Triumph, I don't think he does though. I think that's a breeding pool.
Yeah, I believe it is a breeding pool,
Yeah.
and then
So unless he has the Triumph, he can't make the 4
Yeah,
colors
he-
necessary to kill Jace.
the only way to actually deal with the Jace is just through combat damage right now.
Which, I mean, one of those options has already gone in exile, so
Yeah, and Reed can deal with those creatures. Like
Yeah.
that's the easy part for him to deal with.
he can just -1 before they're a problem.
Yeah, or just his deck runs a lot of bolts and the holy heats. I think he's more prized into dealing with creatures than anything else.
And he's definitely got Delirium, so look at that. That's pretty much enough.
This is gonna be another solitude. It looks like.
Reed's pulling through his answers, so
Reed being tapped out, 1 card in hand. I mean, I don't think Eric has much else either.
I don't think it's a terrible situation for Reed. Especially considering he can just brainstorm like whenever.
Yeah, he's just gonna get to keep doing that.
But Eric's got like what, 1 card in hand right now?
I
And-
think
and
so.
Nothing on board.
And only 4 mana.
Yeah.
Reed has
It's like
2
6
more lands than him. Yeah.
Yeah. And 5 more life. I think that's a non-insignificant number right now.
Eric's gonna buy Kahira.
That's pretty much the only thing he can do.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it's just another land in his hand. Maybe a counterspell.
He's just gonna keep brainstorming away.
How many does he have in his hand? 4?
We saw a lot of counterspells from him last time, and these,
I see at least 1 in his hand right now that he's keeping.
yeah, that might be good enough. The amount of mana he has too, he really just needs to stick 1 threat here.
I mean, like, even if he doesn't have a threat right now, like, that 1 counterspell against literally anything that that Eric has, I mean, that holds him off. That Kahira is honestly likely his only option. If he counters that,
Yeah.
we might be looking at a couple more turns before he pulls anything out.
Yeah, I mean, Eric does have the combo, so to speak, of Narset and Dazon doing that basically just wins him the game from scenarios like this. But even if Reed could deal with the Jace or the Narset once it's resolved to free his Jace, I think he could win from that situation, but it would still be pretty rough.
Well, I feel like if he can get down, like, I mean, if he can get down a Ragavan, if he can have like 1 Unholy Heat, I think he can just deal with it before it becomes a problem. As long as there's not. I mean, I feel like that's another issue to be dealt with at that point.
I don't think Eric's seen any Teferis yet.
Yeah, no. I think the only Planeswalker he's even seen is the Wandering Emperor.
Yeah, and we saw Narset last game, but no Teferi there either.
Chalice on 1?
Yeah, it's pretty strong. It might get the counterspell out.
I think it will.
We see Archmage just trim in hand for Reed as well.
Which,
Here's the
Oh.
Kahira. That's how he's going to force that one down.
yeah, that's true.
It will trigger the Ledger Shredder, though.
I think by the time it matters, Ledger Shredder might just be able to beat Kahir anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it will trade with it as of right now because Reed did discard an Otawara.
Yeah.
James, this is Will, stealing his spot while he's actually working.
Oh my god. Is that NRG champion Will Kowalczyk?
Yeah. I don't know. Eric's in a very rough spot. Honestly, because of the deck he's playing, if I were him, I would just go to game 3. This is a very
I feel like he was already kind of screwed when it was just Jace and a Ledger Shredder. Now that Murktide is coming out, I think that's just gonna be an 8/8.
he does in a position where he's ahead on
I-
every access of
I would not continue this game personally. That's an 8/8, right? Yeah. I mean, like either way, like you get a Solitude, cool. You get rid of Murktide, you're still facing down 2 Ledger Shredders, right? I don't think there's much that gets Eric out of this hole.
being that this is also game 2, I imagine Reed's trimmed some amount of his burn, so this Kahira might just soak up a yep.
Yeah, it's just gonna die. I'm not personally quite sure why Eric acts there.
Verdict, probably.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, Supreme Verdict. That'll do it.
Now Eric's just gotta somehow get a prismatic getting up to 4 for this Jace the Mind Sculptor and hope Reed taps out.
I don't think he
Mhm.
can. Not for at least a couple
He's
turns.
got Breeding Pool in play.
He doesn't have a red mana though, I don't think. That'll
the
do it.
Arcane Charm.
At least he's keeping Reed off of getting too much of an advantage right here.
Something like that.
Jace is at 7,
Yeah.
9?
Should be 9 now.
Yeah. I mean, he's got the that's it.
Ragavan's the nail in the coffin, I guess.
I think that should be the nail in the coffin. There's really not much to discuss besides that. He was already screwed. Ragavan just is a persistent threat. Yeah. I don't know how many marches that deck runs. Do you know?
I couldn't give you an answer.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Hopefully, Reed can definitely finish out a game in 18 minutes. Eric, though, is going to be have to speed it up.
I think it's pretty likely. I think it's pretty likely that Reed is going to cinch this one. But you never know. Either that, it's going to tie. Sure. I think would also be kind of interesting.
Too bad Hull Breach is not in this format to get a bunch of treasures off of Days Undoing.
I feel like That's not a too bad moment. That's just my take though.
So you can't get like a swing in with a Hall of the Storm Giants on turn 3 or turn 5. But yeah, no crazy plays like that in Modern. This is a fair format.
This is a fair Magic the Gathering. I mean, you can still win on like, turn 2 or 3, but
Yeah.
it's a fair.
It's nice to see the boards cleared up. Get a good look at the play mats both players are choosing today.
I mean, they're both people with their hands up, so kind of got that symmetry.
Reed's on them roll to 6. Eric is wasting no time to throw that land down.
Can you see what that is?
No.
Yeah, I think that's a recurring problem. Got shock steam vents for Ragavan. And we got the draw off of Bobble. Prismatic ending. That was quick. Yeah, there you go. Eric's fetching. Upkeep. End step.
Reed's end step, it seems.
Oh, Reed just passed. That's disappointing.
Holding up counterspell for Teferi, probably.
Yeah, that's likely. See a counterspell. That could have no, that might have been his first hand. So you got an expressive iteration.
That's
Looks like Eric did not have that Teferi.
well, probably just not. If he does have it, it's kind of rough to just jam it into a open 2 mana.
Into an obvious counterspell. I think it honestly is more likely that he's just gonna play it this turn.
Yeah.
But
Hoping Reed doesn't just have a dispute spell pierce kind of effect up, but
it is likely. But
both players, I would bet that in their sideboard, packing it in for this matchup.
why would you not? It's a pretty all around good card and counters pretty much every major threat. Oh, we got a Narset down there. And are we gonna see the Mystical Dispute?
If you're Reed, you could just hold up a ult if he still has those in, just for when he ticks down, but not even
I think we are gonna see the Mystical Dispute. Yep.
Veil.
Oh, Veil of Summer. All right.
1 mana Cryptic Command. I
Look at
hate
that.
that card.
That is just too good right there.
Picking down Narset. Who cares if he has Bolt? Narset.
Got a downtick on Narset. Oh, Ledger Shredder coming out.
Bobble to slam that Ledger Shredder up to a hopefully 2/4. This Ledger Shredder can prove to be a liability for Reed or sits in play.
Especially since
He already drew off Bobble this turn.
he's already used Prismatic Ending. He hasn't shown Teferi.
Was not paying enough attention there if we actually snuck in the. I'm hoping Reed did not draw off of his Ledger Shredder because he drew for turn already. But I'm assuming both players can catch that themselves. I missed it. Days and doing
Amazing dude.
the full day
And
combo.
counterspell. Yep.
See, Yeah, 2
Oh.
for reason.
Yeah, I think he's gonna send it.
Yeah, well, Reed's going down to 0 cards because he's drawing off Ledger Shredder now. And he can't draw.
Hey, at least he's got a Ledger Shredder out.
Oh.
And it's gonna be a 3? Yeah.
This
Oh, is that it?
I think Reed mistook
no.
Days Undoing for game 4 of the match, but lands are still gone, and
Wait,
he's
what are-
catching. He's catching it.
Yeah, okay.
But
I was about to say, like,
we could have.
I don't think it shuffles all permanents there.
We could have intervened with that, but
Yeah.
luckily both players got it down.
That could have been a pretty unfortunate turn of events there. I think Reed was just doing takesy backsies on his concession right there.
See if Reed can draw Expressive Iteration into a bolt for the Narset counterspell.
I mean, he could
And-
just swing into Narset, to be honest.
Oh, this is the play. This is the best draw you got.
That is pretty dang good. Got another land and a new card in hand. Cannot complain about that. And Narset is down.
Get this Narset off the board. Make sure Ledger Shredder's back online. Eric untapping 8 cards in hand.
You know, not a bad setup.
The real test of endurance is the getting him down to 0 life in 10 minutes, though.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if he can do that, but we'll see. Definitely possible, but
Chain some Solitudes, Hall of the Storm Giants. That kind of effect.
it's a fairy. Probably gonna bounce Ledger Shredder back. Yep.
Love my old border to fairies. I'm hoping Reed can do something, pull something out of this.
You know, with 2 cards in hand, one being a Ledger Shredder, it couldn't. It's not the worst thing that could happen. Another?
Resolving that
Jeez.
Ledger Shredder trigger. Dispute EI. Eric is not letting Reed get back in this game.
You know, I was quite surprised that that was the other card. That's a lucky draw there. But, you know, considering it isn't doing just resolved, not surprising.
Narset number 2.
Can we deal with the Narset?
Trigger this Ledger Shredder to take that last card out of Reed's hand, maybe? That looks like what he's doing.
Yes, indeed.
Nah. Yeah, he has not drawn yet this turn. Mistaken for that one. Spell Pierce is not going to do much in the eyes of Arch.
And it's a
Yeah.
fairy.
To fairy.
You know, I think I take it back. He actually might be able to seal the deal.
Well, killing the opponent is part of that.
Yeah, that's something.
Main phase subtlety.
I feel like he's got a couple ways of doing that. With the advantage he's grabbing, he could definitely seal it. Is that a Hall of the Storm Giants right there?
Yep.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, no, he definitely can do that. Prismatic ending, yeah.
Blue white being able to prismatic ending up to 4, even 5 sometimes. That's the blue white we like to see.
My favorite blue-white deck. The one that also has 2 other colors.
3.
3, yeah.
Black, red, green.
Yes, that is correct. Oh, just gonna bike here.
Eric's taking it slow and steady. I don't know. Dashing a Ragavan.
Sending it in for Narset or Teferi? Oh,
Face.
just his face. All right. Not sure if I directly
Well,
agree, but
Eric's got another fairy in hand, so
oh, he does. Okay,
off of the Narset.
and that is public information. Yeah, so that makes sense. Must have missed that.
Hopefully, Eric realizes that this Hall of the Storm Giants can start attacking and just seal the deal for Reed because I can't stand to watch him suffer anymore.
You know, I don't think he really needs to keep pushing here. I think yeah,
Reed
there you
understands
go.
the game.
I honestly, if he had just started attacking, I'm pretty sure he could have closed the deal in 2 minutes or less. But
Oh, that's it for this round. We'll be back once they're all done.
All right, we're back here for round number 3, Modern Mondays. Joined here by Will,
Let's go. I'm here again,
winning 5Ks, doing the thing, you know.
trying my best. Only one 5K under my belt.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think Adam's on 4-color Delirium here. We see Yorion. And Asmir, I believe, is on Yawgmoth, I saw from looking around at the tables.
Oh, that's new. It's been a while since we've seen Yawgmoth on stream.
Yeah, not too many Grist enjoyers so far, but glad to see some support.
Recently, my eyes have been opening up to Grist. I played a fair share of Elves and Legacy, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, card's cracked. It's got a lot of good text. Doesn't get countered by Force Negation.
Green Sun Zenith. Just tutoring for Grist is sometimes it.
Yeah, we don't get to do that in this format. I wish we could. They deemed that was too powerful. The channel points prediction set up for y'all. Color control Delirium for Adam. Hopefully we don't get a draw. All right, so it's going to be turn 2 Strangled Geist against Adam. Could potentially be very powerful if Adam doesn't have a prismatic ending. I know he's not on March. It's just a bunch of unholy heats.
Yeah. I got the wrath of playing against Adam earlier and seeing a triple unholy heat against my 3 Ragavans was not a fun. Actually, let me tell you, I thought Yorion added some inconsistencies.
Yeah, you know, you can definitely still draw the cards in the correct order, despite there being 80 cards, but
when they're all busted, I mean,
yeah, there's no bad cards in that deck, that's for sure.
fetching up a land right away. This makes me think he's gonna clean up the Strangler Geist right away.
I mean, he might land something like a Teferi here. Might take the time to do that because it would gain him a bit of a life.
He's going to 2 lands right now, so
Oh, he's not going to untap to 3.
no, he's main facing this, right?
I thought this was on the end step, but we'll find out shortly, I suppose.
I might have missed something. Let's fetch it to basic.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right.
Oh, this might just.
Well, this is the end step.
I'm so confused.
I'm lost. Well,
Oh yeah, this is in the attackers. This makes a lot more sense.
oh, okay. We're not moving that fast. I see it. So Adam's actually going to block here. Adam has a little bit of practice. I know on Yawgmoth he was playing that originally, I thought. Turn 3 Grist.
It's a great play. Making Adam tap out a counter spell.
Yeah, I think I'd take the hit for 2.
His best bet here is just prismatic on this Grist right away.
Ooh, got the nice insect tokens from the Onslaught era of the player rewards. I think that's what those are. Pretty spicy tokens. Player reward from 2003.
Got some crazy art on that.
Yeah. And not typical for a token to have that like silver border too.
Yeah.
Pretty unique.
Grist down to a prismatic ending. Tapped out again though, so maybe we can untap with a Yawgmoth here.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, no, not
pretty,
with the.
pretty good for Asmir here, as that's going to be one less ending that Adam's gonna have just for the whole game. Ending is easily the best card in this matchup as it makes great work of the undying creatures, and since Adam's not on any marches, he really doesn't have too many resources to work with here.
Do we know how many Furies he's on? Because that'd be another contender for the best card in the matchup.
That is fair. I think
The pitch element.
he's on at least one. Yeah, I mean it's hard to top Solitude and Fury in this.
Even Endurance respond to a Undying
Undying
trigger.
creature, yeah. It is huge. Looks like Hapatra was the play though.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. I usually favor 4-color, some soup of 4-color against Yawgmoth, but there's a lot of board presence on the Yawgmoth side here, and I
Yeah, pretty demanding game one for some kind of AoE effect like Fury or Supreme Verdict, but I don't think you're going to find as many of those game one for 4-color. So game one can usually be taken by Yawgmoth, especially with a bird or goblin start. But as we're playing the go wide strategy for game number one, which I like a lot. Do some requests for the Mind Reaver token. If I could contact Fluffy, you could add him in the chat. That might get his attention. You could have him pull that up for us.
Adam's certainly in a position where something's got to be done in this turn, or it's
Yeah, I mean he's at 13. He's not facing too much damage, but letting Hapatra stick around is not something you want to be doing.
holy heat.
It's just gonna deal 2 damage as well, but it's gonna take out Hapatra. He could have taken out the Strangle Request as well. That's better if Asmir has a Yawgmoth on the following turn.
He did need to do that on his turn rather than on Asmir's turn just to get that delirium for traverse.
And that'll find an Omnath.
Still, it's 4 damage going into Adam this next turn at least. Omnath's gonna have to quickly fix this board state.
I mean, that's what Omnath does, right?
Miserable. Omnath against Burn is one of those matchups where it's you think you're there with Burn and then they're at 5, then 9, and then it's over.
You can even go down to 1. As long as you're not dead, Omnath will get you back out of there.
Chord for is that 1, 2,
3, 6.
chord for
So chord for 4, yeah.
that's a Yawgmoth, I assume. I don't know many other 4-drops in Yawgmoth.
Yeah, and it's probably not an undying creature, at least not a young wolf, in hand because Asmir did not convoke the Stranglegeist. So I don't think Adam's dead here, but he's not going to be in a good spot.
Yeah. Very nice signed Yawgmoth as well.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Got a lot of nice looking cards on the side of the table.
Yeah, some full art, some foils, old tokens. Adam's got a pretty tight list too, though. He's got all the old borders. He just picked up his onslaught fetches, or at least some of them, I believe. Yawgmoth is here. Adam down to 9. Really just looking for Solitude effect.
The main phase chord, it seemed just to play around that counter spell, likely.
Yeah, I think that's pretty smart. That leads me to believe there's another counterspell in their hand.
Comes the bull.
Trigger, draw, land. Do we have a fetch? Looks like a bauble first. Not a good sign. Maybe Adam just wants to see He should fetch, but I think for the mana's sake, you're better off just trying to get as much value this turn as possible, as it might be your last.
It's like a flooded strand.
So Adam is gonna go with the fetch here. Flooded Strand this time is just gonna get a plains to save as much life as possible and still generate 5 total mana this turn. We could see something like Expressive Iteration trying to find Ephemerate / Solitude. Maybe a white card is needed still.
Or even just hard casting a Solitude.
Well, here's a Solitude. Yeah, I think we are just doing that. It's definitely taking out the Yawgmoth, right?
We could, yeah. Likely gonna see something die from the Yawgmoth side. Start drawing some cards.
Yeah, that's the benefit of Yawgmoth is it's always going to be doing something as long as you have a board. In this case, yeah, I think it's going to take out Solitude as well. You already have a bunch of mana. You can probably get rid of the Ignoble. Yep. Sack the Strangler Geist one more time. Take care of that. There's an argument for just going after Omnath, though, right?
Yeah,
Like I don't know if you care about the Solitude as much. Because you get to proliferate next turn.
well, Solitude's cleaning up this Yawgmoth right now.
Oh, right. Yeah, you don't get to activate.
Could see sack the Strangler completely
Right.
just to draw more cards.
Asmir probably has a lot of strong cards in hand then if they're choosing that.
I see an Endurance in there.
Looks like an Ignoble as well.
Omnath being a 3/3 is also very relevant. Endurance just straight up killing Omnath and shrugging it off with ease. Strangler Geists on their backside, becoming 3/2s, trading with Omnath.
Yep.
That extra bump of toughness is important in this matchup, especially.
Oh, definitely, yeah. The -1/-1 counter is really coming into play in this matchup. You don't see it too much outside of killing like hammers creatures, but lowering 4 colors creatures' power, if not just killing them, is
You could see the
pretty
argument
play.
for the main phase Endurance just to shut off Delirium entirely.
Yeah, I mean, if Emrakul is going to stick around, you might even be casting it Emrakul next turn.
And Unholy Heat can't be cast right now, so you're playing around that if you do.
That's true. You're probably more likely to keep Endurance.
Get a little bit of a health buffer there with the Innkeeper. And a Young Wolf.
Okay.
Young Wolf.
Okay. Sure, our table manager Fluffy's ecstatic right now. Young Wolf being pretty favorable card for him there. So Asmir really just needs to find Yawgmoth here, and Adam doesn't have that many cards in him. He hasn't cast an iteration, or I don't know if he's on Eternal Witness. I don't believe. I did play this matchup the other day, and having Ephemerate is kind of nuts because it just removes the Negum counters.
Yep. It's surprisingly hard to fit cards in your 80 card pile, but it's just such a tight list when every card is Solitude, Fury, Codal, Omnath, your however many 29 lands you're on, and
Yeah, even a low count for lands in the 4-color deck.
I mean, Renin 6 fixes that.
Yeah, Renin 6 pretty busted card. It needs nerf. We do see Dress Down in Adam's deck, so might not be in his hand, but for future games in this match, that might come up
Mhm.
as it turns his Unholy Heats into proper kill spells against the undying creatures.
Yeah. Still tanking.
Has a fetch in play under the abundant growth. I actually didn't realize that, but I believe that was put there a couple turns ago. But the glare is a bit strong today.
And I'm buying Yorion.
Can find a solitude. Having the Yorion to be able to exile another creature might be kind of useful here. Although in this situation, having multiple turns with Omnath, it's just going to get worse and worse for the Yawgmoth player if they can't find a way to combo kill. But Adam is lacking in the solitude department, so I think the combo is not out of the question.
Adam definitely throwing himself straight back into this game. 15 life, 4/5 flyer, 4/4 on the ground off of Yorion Flicker.
And a couple more cards in hand as well, since most of the cards in his deck are going to say draw a card.
Yeah.
Most powerful words in Magic.
Yawgmoth number 2.
We'll see if Adam found a solitude.
Doesn't look like it.
In that case, then Esmir's just going to be looking for another Undying creature, and we might be done with in this game. We have 3/4 of the combo here.
3/4 is it's a lot.
It's a 4-card combo. I mean, it's technically just 3, and then you can usually draw into the 4th piece.
We got some mana here. Nope. Bet you. That's a Dryad Arbor.
Yo, the hidden Dryad Arbor, the one that looks like a forest.
I assume it'll be immediately sacked this Yawgmoth.
Probably. I
Would have thought that.
don't think you even want the mana here.
Who would have thought that fetching could just draw you 2 cards off of sacking it and then sacking the Young again?
Yeah, Undying creatures are kind of nuts. Basically, any other creature allows you to draw an additional card as long as you have the Undying creature out. Three mana still out with a treasure, so any of the Undying creatures are castable here.
Omnath is now 2/2 again, or 2/2 for the first time. Was a 3/3 last. Let's go. Come on. That's a grist. Let's see grist here.
Grist will
Grist?
It's not going to help this turn unless it's Court of Calling off is the draw.
Endurance.
It's going to be an endurance instead.
You can endurance. Endurancing.
Endurance
There might
yourself.
be an argument to endurance yourself just to put Dryad Arbor back in the deck, but turning off the Delirium is so strong.
I think it's a lot better. It makes Unholy Heat kill you.
Yeah, I imagine I have never played Yawgmoth myself, but I imagine going up to 2 Dryad Arbors is a bit insane. So, bit of a crazy play. Secondary. Negwa.
mean, that's pretty good. Yeah, we're just killing Yawgmoth here.
Some interesting tech you could do with endurance. If you don't want to actually cast it, you can just
Yeah,
evoke it and
And then sack it before the evoke trigger resolves.
3 additional mana.
There might not have been a green card.
Now we saw Grist in the hand,
But
but
maybe want to hang on to Grist though to kill Yorion.
yep. I don't hate that play, but surely there's another green card in this like 12
You
card
would
hand.
think. I mean,
I guess
there's
that's
been a lot of cards drawn out. We see another Yawgmoth. I've just been lands in Yawgmoth though. That's entirely possible.
we did see the Innkeeper go down too in the fight of Yawgmoth itself.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be pretty brutal if Adam just dropped another Omnath here. That's basically how you win these games. Is make Yawgmoth commit a lot of creatures to killing Omnath and then just play another one. Just the inevitability of value that you're going to get off of that card alone is usually good enough to win in this matchup. But the Yawgmoth decks do play a lot of copies of their combo with 8 undying creatures as well as
Eldritch, Core,
yep,
any of those.
so basically 10 to 12 copies of each combo card.
That's a dress down, I see. That's a nightmare of a card.
Yeah, pretty powerful.
Dress down doesn't stop Grist, luckily, so
This is true. Iteration will put the dress down in Adam's hand. Save that for later. I think I'd still rather have a counterspell, but it will do for now. It'll at least draw a card.
that.
So I wonder if we're going to see an attack with Yorion here. We could start bringing on the beats. I don't think we're under that much pressure, but having a lower life total than Yawgmoth is always scary. If Adam knew about the Grist, I think he might attack as it's likely to die.
This again, my lack of knowledge with Yawgmoth. I am not sure if they play a large amount of Besagus, if probably
It's usually one, if that.
that can clean up the dress down, which is something to consider as well.
Going to be an abundant growth on the plains.
And 6.
No land to pick up, making this run a little sad. Looks like he's just going to ping face.
Like just an end step dress down to play around untapped mana.
All of those things. All right, cool.
Not sure how many creatures are in Asmu's graveyard, but we're close to just this dress down and play is going to affect that, but we're close to just slamming a Grist, proliferate, ult Grist, and cleaning up the game that way. But
Yeah, Alton Grist is definitely a valid option here. I've killed a few people with it. I haven't played Yawgmoth too much, but it comes up in matchups that go long like this, or it's happened against Mill, where Grist ult has actually come up.
And
There's
Besage?
the Besage. You
only
put the
one
dress
mana
down.
because of Yawgmoth too.
Yep.
Sick
You're right. You
interaction.
called that out.
Adam may search his library for a lane with basic land type.
Pretty tight interaction though. Having the Besage you.
And
This should be proceed to victory.
Yeah, like
Having the one outer, maybe two outer. Pretty pivotal. I mean, Asmir got to draw a lot of cards these past few turns, so I'm not surprised.
not being able to do it the infinite amount, but having Yawgmoth's bargain play is
I mean, there should still be a Blood Artist or Essence Warden in there, right?
yeah.
Another
Another
young
one.
okay.
Looks like and Eldritch.
And that's it. That'll do it. Adam without Solitude in hand or Endurance is going to take this loss to Black Green Yawgmoth in game number 1.
It's a very tight interaction.
Yeah, both players playing pretty well. But in the end, Yawgmoth is going to draw the right cards, and Adam is not going to draw enough Solitudes.
Four color being pretty notorious for hitting the game slowly. We'll have to pick up the pace with 22 minutes left. in the
Yeah,
clock.
I mean, if Adam wants to win this match, he's gonna have to play faster. It's just like this matchup can go long.
Yep. The legendary Mind Reaver shown on screen.
Yep, it's coming up in full force.
Well, hopefully it doesn't come up for Adam.
Yeah, yeah. A double blue card that's not counterspelled 4 color. I don't think I'm into it.
That effect is not good. Reading first time. I've only ever looked at the art.
Yeah, honestly, heroic, being pretty big on a lot of creatures in that era, but not the best in this one.
Back to both players drawing their opening hands. There's keeping. Adam starting off with the Flooded Strand pass. Legendary start.
Legendary start. Not as good as the fetch up a snow-covered forest abundant growth, but yeah, something.
What flavor of Triumph we're getting?
Probably Rogrin, if I'd have to guess.
It looked like we saw the Jeskai one in Adam's opening hand.
Oh, really? That could be a little annoying here, as we're going to see Spar's headquarters.
Rogrin being the Jeskai one. Always forgetting their names.
Yeah, they're a little goofy. Not as easy as the shock lens.
If you want to get even more difficult, remove the Triumph and just start naming them some kind of fighting ring from New Capena.
Yeah, those are even worse offenders. They couldn't even call them all the same thing.
Yeah. Adam's got 1/5 of the headquarters cycle in play right now, it seems, underneath the Scalding Turn.
No turn one play from Asmir either.
From both players.
See if we have another Geist. That
Geist.
is. March also wouldn't be that amazing here either. I ran into the scenario this past weekend where if you're on the draw, you just can't really deal with Strangler Geist for a few turns. You're gonna have to take a few hits and deal with other threats like Yawgmoth and Grist.
March being unable to hit planeswalkers, but being able to hit Urza Saga is a trade-off most people are willing to take.
I think so. Because Saga can actually be pretty hard for the full color decks to deal with.
Saga is a 3-for-1.
It is. It is a 0-mana 3-for-1. I think that's what the sagas were originally intended to be, is a pseudo 3-for-1. Like you see that in Fable as well.
Fable the Mirror Breaker.
Yep.
One of my favorite sagas being the Dominaria Mythic one. It's got that stained glass art, makes some nice
History of Benalia.
History of Benalia. That
Yeah.
one's
That card was correct in standard. Well, Wall of Roots is going to come down to see if we see another creature here. And it's another Geist, yeah.
Adam is more than happy to. Asmir is more than happy for Adam to slam a Supreme Verdict here. Just increase the power on this.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, maybe an end step dress down into Supreme Verdict, but
That would be quite a play.
yeah, that.
Adam, I'm sure, only has a couple. And he's playing right into it.
Well, you called out the last game. Let's see if we see the Supreme Verdict. Adam untaps pretty quickly.
He's
Draws a card.
wasting no time for this.
Yeah, if he can pull this game out pretty early, if he plays Supreme Verdict this turn, has Omnath on the following, the game could be pretty locked up. I don't think I see the verdict though. I think he was hoping to spike it off of the dress down.
No way. There's no way you do that in your 80 card deck.
When you bring in two verdicts, I agree. It's pretty unreasonable. Actually, just going end step.
Oh no. The dress down being gone is such a.
I think I would have played the Omnath there.
It's like Adam's debating on casting this endurance or maybe even a solitude.
Oh, I did not see the endurance. Solitude pitching an Omnath.
That's
I like that only if you have a follow-up Omnath. Even then, it's a little questionable.
or an ephemerate, but I'm not sure how many of those Delirium deck plays.
If any, I'm not 100% sure on his list. He did say it's a little outdated, but by that, all he really means is a week or two, which not outdated.
Adam, one of the people that almost updates his deck daily at this point.
This is fair. Well, here's a Grist from Asmir. Milling Young Wolf.
Notably not an insect.
Yeah. Grist is the only insect in the deck. I think I saw on Twitter the other day there was a Grist on Moto that hit the other three Grists in the deck in a row.
That's like when you ponder into seeing all other three.
You truffle that?
Depends.
What if that's your turn one ponder in the blind?
I don't know.
I think you keep those. I think that'd be hard to get rid of. The likelihood of that is not high, so
yeah. But then do you cast a ponder on the following turn, or do you just kind of collect all three in your hand? And
I think then it starts to depend on the matchup, but
there's a lot of things going on. What's in your hand? Is your opponent trying to kill you on turn 2, or
yeah. Yeah, I mean if you just need to see a counterspell, you probably shuffle the ponders. Asmir's coming across for 3. Adam's already at 10.
this is this doesn't look like a very quick winnable game for Adam, so
Yeah, I mean,
it's got to pull something out here.
I think he just needed to have the Supreme Verdict, the dress down. Now not having dress down.
Even if you verdict, you're still stuck with the Strangler Geist in play and a Grist.
I like Scavenging Ooze in this matchup particular because it's Delirium, and you really just get to pick and choose what Adam's allowed to have in his graveyard.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're trying to traverse for something? Well, let's just make it a basic land.
Right? It makes Traverse uncastable, basically. I wonder if Adam had the hindsight to trim or cut all of them.
Yeah. It's knowing your opponent's on endurance and finding out now Scavenging Muse too. This is a rough game.
Besides a counter spell, is there another card that should be respected? I mean, Supreme Verdict, you definitely need to acknowledge and play accordingly. But at this point, Asmir's playing just one threat a turn, really. I mean, Adam's at 6. The clock is lethal as it stands with all the creatures in play. So I
Fury-
like playing the Scoos.
Fury is also notably not a bad draw.
Fury's also powerful. Yep.
I like sending Grist to just one off of it. You don't want your Fury to die. Like, yeah, you could wipe up a lot of the board, but
Do respect. Permanents enter the battlefield tapped at this turn.
the nice Elish Norn art.
Is that just Time Walk in essence somehow?
Uh, Time Walk in the same way that Silence is Time Walk.
Yeah, I guess that's literally the same thing.
Well,
Oh, close.
they get their draw step, combat step. In this one, they get their draw step, combat step, and they can still play things. But
Right. Lands would come in tapped though if there were any to be played. True. Well, we'll see what Adam has. He has already played a land this turn, so it's not on that.
hear me out. Isochron Scepter with a Due Respect underneath it.
That's about as good as silence, right? Maybe worse, but you're drawing cards.
With Seiju, so the abundant. Oh no, it's a basic land.
Wow. Okay. Okay. But Seiju's not that powerful, but I like the effort.
Who even needs to Beseiju the land? Adam's still in a very rough spot.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to have some kind of removal spell here. I
eating,
think he just passed though.
eating Solitude, making Scoos that much bigger.
Yeah, that matters a lot. But I don't think we have a Fury here.
Eating the only enchantment. Then eating what the only sorcery. I don't know what expressive iteration tastes like, but Scoos doesn't mind, so
Squeeze will eat it all. Looks like we're just going straight back to combat. This is an endurance. It's a pretty good blocker. I
It-
don't think it can get under the Squeeze though.
still taking a minimum of what? 2 here. Or no, the Scoos is also attacking. Yep.
Yeah, so Adam might have a Solitude left, then that can take care of the Squeeze, and then he gets a favorable block on one of the other creatures, probably Struggle Request.
Like we're gonna cast. Yeah, Adam.
Yeah.
Understanding the game is over.
All right. Good thing these players finished in 2. I don't believe they would have finished a third game with just 9 minutes left on the clock there.
I mean, Yawgmoth can do it, but Adam 4-color, that's a different game.
Yeah, I mean, if he had the verdict off the dress down, I think there was a chance for an earlier kill. But outside of that, I don't think he was winning this game.
Adam might as well run Terminus at that point if he's hoping to just slam a Supreme Verdict off the top.
Yep. You could even Terminus on that turn off of
With-
dress down.
It'd be nuts. That would be something. I'm gonna have to start playing Miracles again.
Yeah. Like it's 2015 all over again. All right, well, that's going to do it for round number 3 here. I don't think we'll find another match. As there's just only 8 minutes left on the clock, so we'll see you guys back here for round number 4 momentarily. All right, we're here for round number 4. Modern. A little late on the start here, but we are back. Looks to be about turn 4 for Eric. Who was most likely on the blue. Might have seen a missed land drop here, but I doubt the blue-white deck would be missing many of those. We see Yawgmoth come down here. Off of an Aether Vial. Okay. So main board Aether Vial in a 60-card Yawgmoth deck. Can't imagine there's too many of those. We haven't seen any from Esmir so far. Combat for 2. Well, for a few more than 2, and that's actually going to do it. Putting Eric down below 0. Gonna put Esmir up. Game versus Blue White, which I think is a pretty bad matchup for Yawgmoth typically. Esmir making it look like a good one. All right. We're here on turn number 2. It's like Narset has resolved. Turn number 3, excuse me, where Narset has resolved. Riot Arbor for Asmir. And just a pass back, Eric will draw. It's a pretty slow start for Yawgmoth. That's going to be biggest setback here in this matchup is just not being able to commit a hasty creature or any undying creature early. It's going to prove pretty troublesome, but it looks like we're actually going to be solituding the Wall of Roots here. But we're going to Chord for 2 in response. We are floating a green off of the wall and then tapping it to Convoke as well. So this is probably going to get something like Strangleroot Geist, which I'm sure Eric would have wanted to Solitude more. But this does take Esmir off of more mana, so I don't hate this line. I could see something like Hapatra or Scavenging Ooze, but it's just going to be the Geist, yeah. Narset also being good against Yawgmoth since it prevents extra draws from being had. And this is just going to be Days Undoing for Eric, which should seal the deal. He's going to draw 7, only letting Esmir draw 1 card. Right. Just doing resolves. We're going to be shuffling up those graveyards. Eric's going to get a fresh 7. And then Esmer will have 2 cards when it goes back to their turn. Esmer will draw for turn. 3 mana still available. Not the worst. Definitely see why Eric was after the Wall of Roots now. Turn 3 Grist into blue-white, resolved one. Gonna be harder to deal with after the fact, but prismatic ending is gonna make quick work of that. Sorry if the stream is a bit choppy here. We're experiencing a little bit of some internet complications, but we're working on it right now. So benefit of Grist is it does leave around a few insects, even if it is dealt with. Aether Gust is actually going to put Grist back on top of the library. And then milled after the trigger. Wow, very sneaky interaction here with Aether Gust. Eric's had a few really nice interactions this tournament. I've gotten a chance to see now Aether Gust being milling its own Grist that it's targeting with Grist ability. We've also seen um, subtletied a subtletied Narset that was cast off of Ragavan to put back on top of Eric's library. So a lot of top of the deck shenanigans going on here. All right, so Outland Liberator is going to be Esmir's answer to Chalice if we see that come up again. Chalice on one being really good at taking both players off of Veil of Summer, but I think Veil is a little bit more important for the Yawgmoth player. And Teferi Time Raveler is going to come down, bouncing Endurance. Here we see Aether Vial a little later than last game, might not be dealing as much damage as we saw from last game, as it got all the way up to 4 to be able to put Yawgmoths in for free. has come back down, targeting themselves. And here's Narset. Half of the combo Eric's looking to perform here. Eric with the rest in peace being pretty big here, taking out most of what Esmir's going to be pulling. Also,
Yeah, the
Take-
Seiju in play too is going to be big.
yeah,
Not being able to channel it ever anymore.
we saw Outland Liberator in previous game. So there are ways to get rid of the rest in peace.
Also, being only at 8 right now is gonna.
Yeah, I mean facing down 5 power.
Who needs your graveyard when you could just kill your opponent?
Yeah, it's a great part about the Yawgmoth deck is the backup plan is just go face.
Yeah.
Wood.
That's it. I'm convinced every deck should just have Lair of the Hydra, just like Annual Titan.
Yeah, I mean it coming in tapped later in the game without Amulet play, kind
Maybe.
of bad.
Maybe. I mean, when you turn one Young Wolf every game, anyways,
Who needs it?
this is where Eric's probably just trying to verdict. But another endurance in hand. I don't know what Asmir might have in hand, but that can be brutal. Our set. Okay.
So Dazen doing still facing down 5 damage and at 3 life.
Like a
Again, then?
would be certain. Asmir closing out the game. Eric not being able to handle the swarm of black-green creatures. That looks like it'll be it for this round. That should be the last game of the night. So thank everyone for watching. We'll see you all next week.